Abram kept moving, steadily making his way south to the Negev. And that was what stuck with me, was that Abraham kept moving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you go into to something that God calls you to, one of the things you don't expect is the famine that's going to hit, because you're in God's will. Why am I going to where you want me to go, and then there's a famine? It was
Right.
the famine that drove him to, like, we like to
Sure.
expect that it's not going to be as hard as it is. It's always
Right.
harder. It's always more challenging.
Yeah, if it's
And
God's will, it's going to be a smooth trip, right?
but that's not ever the experience. Like,
I know,
you're more likely to think,
but
my
it's
God,
what we think.
everything's gotten impossible. I must be in the middle of God's will. Do you know what I mean?
Right. But our expectations when we head out on a journey
Yeah.
is exactly that.
Okay, well, I'm going
It'll
to
be
obey,
smooth.
and then everything's going to be
Everything's
easy.
going to be easy. Yep.
No, it's way worse. It's so much harder.
Okay. So he kept moving.
He kept moving. I think
Mhm.
that's important,
Mhm.
because sometimes that's all God's calling us to, is to just keep moving in the direction that He's called us.
Yes.
The famine doesn't make sense, but we keep going. It doesn't make sense. We got to go to Egypt. It doesn't make sense that I got to let Sarah go live in the palace, but I keep going and I keep
Mhm.
moving, because God has called me on this journey, on this adventure of a lifetime. And the one thing I got to do is just keep moving forward,
Mhm.
not get stuck in the past, not get stopped by the obstacles, not get stuck in the detours, just keep going. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Mhm.
along the way, build altars everywhere you stop. He's leaving the message of God. Like, because
Mhm.
everywhere he goes, we're not talking about altars that can be easily knocked down. People know that someone was here worshiping.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's
Right.
leaving something behind that says, he's a message about reality and a message about God. Everywhere he goes, he's shining that light. Sorry,
But
guys.
Todd, you pointed this out though, and actually this highlights two such important things, and that is worship and obedience.
Welcome, everyone, to Beards with Jesus, Todd's World. Carrie's with me. I'm Todd. How's it going, Carrie?
Great.
Great.
Happy Beers with Jesus Day.
Yeah, and this is our week on with the Wildly Opinionated News Hour. So
Mhm.
we do every week Beers with Jesus. So we're shining the light of the gospel truth out there every week.
We try.
And then bi-weekly, every other week, we do the Wildly Opinionated News Hour, which we did this week. So it dropped yesterday. Just check it
Mhm.
out. That's our politics, news, humor, just kind of
Yep.
fun. You know,
It's pretty humorous. We think so.
we talked a lot about the WNBA this week. So, who'd ever thought anybody would say that in the world?
The
That they talked a lot about the
hullabaloo. The
WNBA.
hullabaloo. Which I had to explain. Oh, and when I was asked by my boys, what is a hullabaloo? I was like, well, Todd uses the word kerfuffle. And they're like, well, what's that? I'm like, man, I don't even know where to begin.
That's why the younger generation needs this show.
So we don't
We're
lose its
bringing
importance.
back, we're
Yeah.
widening their vocabulary.
Okay.
So, and by the way, thank you everyone for tuning in. We love doing this. It has been
Yeah.
great.
Thanks for
I got
being
some
here.
comments last week
Oh,
on
did you
beers.
on our special
Yeah.
edition?
On one in particular on YouTube
Okay.
said, and you know what? My friend Pastor Darrell, who didn't join us last week because he
Mhm.
didn't have anything significant to add, found something significant to add later in a text
Oh,
with
did
me.
he?
And it was the same
Did he?
comment. It was the same as comment on YouTube, which is why I'm saying it, which
Okay.
is the guy on YouTube said, this didn't really happen. We're talking about whether these opening stories are kind of more of a mythology, kind of a meta narrative or not.
Okay.
And this guy was on board with that, or just wanted to make sure we knew this didn't really happen. It's not
Okay.
literal.
We
And,
sounded convinced, and he didn't.
well, I am convinced of it, but to which my answer on the YouTube comment was the same as it is in general, which is, I'm not sure what difference it makes. In other words, when we're talking about the story of like the sower and the seeds with Jesus,
Mhm.
we don't assume that sower was a historical person. It's like Aesop's fables, right? It's a story.
Right. It was to teach a lesson.
But you're engaging with the story in the same way and with the characters in the same way to learn the same lessons.
Mhm.
So I'm just not sure what difference it makes to us. I
Mhm.
mean,
Right.
Other than I did point this out. I didn't get into this into the comments and stuff, but I did point this out to Pastor Darrell, and to which he never had a good response. But or I didn't. Maybe he forgot about it. You know how texting is.
Right.
So anyway, but if you look at
Let's hear it.
Hebrews 11
Yes.
in the Hall of Faith,
Oh,
it
that's right.
specifically references Abel,
Mhm.
Enoch, and Noah. So what
Mhm.
Pastor Darrell, I said, so when do you think things really started actually happening? Like
Right. If
when's
the
historical? And he
Yeah.
said with the call of Abraham, which that's where we're at today, guys.
Okay.
So I think
But if those people are mentioned in the Hall of Faith in Hebrews, it does speak to some level of accuracy, don't you think?
I think the genealogy, I think the whole thing doesn't
Oh,
it
yeah,
doesn't
the whole
sound
genealogy.
mythological.
Yeah, I don't think if it were a parable, it wouldn't start with 2
I could live
pages
with it if it
of
was.
genealogy.
Like
Sure.
if we get there and God's like those were kind of like parables and
Mhm.
foundational stories, but you
Sure.
don't get there's no Adam to me. I mean, it'd
Yeah.
be strange to me given some of the things that Jesus said and Paul said, but I'd be
Mhm.
like, okay, that's fine. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily change all that much. But when you
Mhm.
got like Hebrews 11 and it talks about by faith Abel did this and by faith Enoch walked with God and by faith Noah became intimate with God. And then in Hebrews 11:13 it says each one of these people
Mhm.
of faith died not having yet in hand what was promised, but still believing. How did they do it? They saw it way off in the distance,
Mm.
waved their greeting, and accepted the fact that they were transients in this world. We'll get back to this passage later on. People
Cool.
who live this way make it plain that they are looking for their true home. If they were homesick for the old country, they could have gone
Mhm.
back anytime they wanted, but they were after a far better country than that, heaven country. You can see why God is so proud of them and has a city waiting for them. So at the beginning, he says each one, and then he says God has a city waiting for him. And I think that's not how God would talk about Zeus. I don't think.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. Well, and right before Jesus tells the story of the sower and the seeds, he doesn't give the sower's genealogy.
Right. I don't,
It's
I
a
think
great
it's
point, Todd.
historical.
Sure.
It reads historical to me.
Mhm.
I don't care. It doesn't matter to
Me
me. It doesn't
neither.
shake my faith. And if people out there like Pastor Darrell believe that it's more
Mhm.
mythological and a meta narrative, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like are,
I'd like his
we
answer
still
to
love the
those
same
points, though.
Jesus. You know what I mean? Like we're all on board. We just happen to disagree at this point. But again, I
Okay.
don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference, at least in how we approach them on Beers with Jesus. I don't know how I would do it any different. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Right.
you get into a story the same way is kind of my point. So,
Yes.
but anyway, that was out there and that was interesting. So I don't remember the person on YouTube that made the comment, but thanks for commenting and thanks for
Yes,
listening.
thank you.
And
And someone also put out there something about landing on the moon, right?
yeah, I didn't understand that exactly. Other than
If
I
they were
think they were trying to make
comparing.
the same point,
Yeah.
which
So
was that this Tower of Babel thing didn't really happen. And listen, it's reasonable if people want to take that position.
Mhm.
I would not take it. I was reminded of this when we talked about Dr. Hobbit Fauci on news yesterday. I wouldn't personally take it because I felt like the science was telling a different story because I think
Mhm.
the science has been proven relatively not trustworthy.
It
But
depends on the source.
if you feel like for whatever reason reading the Bible that makes more sense as kind of the underlying myths, I don't have a problem with that. It's
Mhm.
fine. We still talk about it the same way. So, um,
Cool.
and so anyway, that was all. But now I think with the call of Abram, chapter 12, where we're going to start, I think everybody's on page that this is historical. You pretty much trace the Jews. The Jews all trace
Okay.
their lineage back to Abraham.
Okay.
Everybody's pretty much on board that Abraham was a real dude.
Okay.
So I think from here on out that the story is biblical. Other than there's still some people probably who think that miracles and like Jonah and the whale and things like that
Mhm.
didn't happen. They were more meta narratives too, or whatever. Some
So
of the
for
more, what would you say, fantastic stuff in the Bible.
Sure.
I
Yes.
don't know.
The more
Parting of
fantastic
the Red Sea,
stories.
they'll try to be like, oh, the tide was out. No,
Just
that
very
changes the
different. If
story a
you've ever
little.
seen the tide going out, yeah, but, um, And for those who don't know, because we have this show here for people who maybe haven't spent a lot of time in the Bible. Abram, who we're talking about today, becomes Abraham. He's renamed. This is the same
Yeah.
person, right?
Yeah, and guys, I'm going to apologize on the front end
Mhm.
because my good buddy Will's been over, and we've been going back this morning before we
Uh-huh.
recorded this. We spent a lot of the morning, we were talking about this passage and bouncing
Mhm.
things back and forth,
Yeah.
bouncing some things off Grok. When I say that, I'm mostly like, I have some ideas that the Bible never says certain things, and I
Mhm.
like to run it by Grok for a quick research on the whole Bible, and then I'm right. Yeah, the Bible doesn't say that, or sometimes it
Okay.
does. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Is there
Okay.
anything I'm not thinking of?
Mhm.
But it's not like it's really given me any new ideas. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Right.
Mostly it's
I
a
hope
little
not.
faster way of researching than other things.
Yeah.
But I constantly the entire time was mixing up Abraham and Abram.
Yeah.
Because God changes his name to Abraham, and then for the entire rest of the Bible, he's referred
And
to
the
as
rest
Abraham.
of history, he's referred to as Abraham.
But for these early
So.
chapters, if I mix them up, Abraham and Abram are the same person.
Okay.
I know, okay.
Is
All
his
right, we're
wife's
gonna
name different also?
Sarai and Sarah, but
Okay.
it
She
is the
becomes
same.
Sarah.
Her
Okay.
name wasn't changed. I don't think
It's just
really. I think
is it a translation thing?
it's a
I meant to
difference.
look that up. I just
I'm not
remembered
really
it.
sure,
Okay.
honestly, about that.
So, same people.
Anyway, I'm going to start
Okay.
back in 11 just a little where it says the family tree of Terah. It's
Okay.
11:27.
Mhm.
And then we're going to roll right through 12.
Okay.
And we read the Message, guys, because the Message is the best. I like it's most narrative. I think Eugene Peterson did a great job on it. And for people who don't think you should use the Message as a study Bible,
Mhm.
well, I think you're crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway, whatever works. Really,
Okay.
whatever translation of the Bible you're willing to read, that's the one that you like, that works. I
Go
think
for
God,
it.
the Holy Spirit will work through any of them. So,
True. That's very true.
but we read the Message. I like the way it reads, whole thing. So anyway, the family tree of Terah. This is the story of Terah. Terah had Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran had Lot. Haran died before his father, Terah, in the country of his family, Ur of the Chaldees, or Chaldees, whatever. Abram and Nahor each got married. Abram's wife was Sarai. Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of his brother Haran. Haran had two daughters, Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was barren. She had no children. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and set out with them from Ur of the Chaldees for the land of Canaan. But when they got as far as Haran, they settled down there. Terah lived 205 years. He died in Haran. Now, chapter 12. Abram and Sarai. God told Abram, leave your country, your family, and your father's home for a land that I will show you. I'll make you a great nation and bless you. I'll make you famous. You'll be a blessing. I'll bless those who bless you. Those who curse you, I'll curse. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you. So Abram left just as God said, and Lot left with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot with him, along with all the possessions and people they had gotten in Haran, and set out for the land of Canaan and arrived safe and sound. Abram passed through the country as far as Shechem and the oak of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites occupied the land. God appeared to Abram and said, I will give this land to your children. Abram built an altar at the place God had appeared to him. He moved on from there to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent between Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. He built an altar there and prayed to God. Abram kept moving, steadily making his way south to the Negev. Then a famine came to the land. Abram went down to Egypt to live. It was a hard famine. As he drew near Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, look, we both know you're a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they're going to say, aha, that's his wife, and kill me.
Dang.
But they'll let you live. Do me a favor. Tell them you're my sister. Because of you, they'll welcome me and let me live. When Abram arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians took one look and saw that his wife was stunningly beautiful. Pharaoh's princes raved over her to Pharaoh. She was taken to live with Pharaoh. Because of her, Abraham got along very well. Abram was right, is the point.
Yeah.
He accumulated sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, men and women servants, and camels. But God hit Pharaoh hard because of Abram's wife, Sarai. Everybody in the palace got seriously sick. Pharaoh called for Abram. What's this that you've done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she's your wife? Why did you say she's my sister so that I'd take her as my wife? Here's your wife back. Take her and get out. Pharaoh ordered his men to get Abram out of the country. They sent him and his wife and everything he owned on their way. There it is.
Good job.
What do you think, Carrie?
I don't even know.
Did you know this story or no?
I didn't.
I have an idea.
I vaguely remembered it. I didn't remember.
Words, by the way. Here's to Jesus. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers to Abram and Sarai.
Well, cheers to poor Sarah.
Leaving comfort and home and family.
Both of them, I know. Yeah, I remember this story. I remember them being told to go. I didn't remember that Sarah has to lie about who she is and that she then kind of gets scooped up by the royalty there. That's pretty awful. I mean, they're in survival mode, but that's terrible.
We're going to see this twice. Well, we're actually going to see it 3 times. We're going to see it twice with Abram, once with Abram, once with Abraham, same person. And then I don't remember if it's the same, might not be Egypt again. It might be a different place. And then with Isaac, who is Abraham's son, Abraham and Sarah's son, the promise,
right.
Does the exact same thing with Rebecca, his wife. I mean, nearly exactly.
Really?
So we see this happen 3 times. What I think is interesting about it, and this is a lot of what Will and I were talking about.
Okay.
Because Will and I grew up. Will's my best friend. We're childhood friends. We grew up in church together and went to college together. Anyway, we had a lot of the same life experiences, is my point. So we've heard a lot of preachers and a lot of different people talk about this passage and talk about how it was wrong for Abraham to lie. It was kind of a lack of faith on his part, but God blessed him anyway.
Okay.
And I would like to say that it's just not presented that way. It's not presented that way anywhere in the Bible. In fact, the only person who walks away blessed out of this is Abraham. He's blessed while it's happening and when he leaves, and the only people cursed were the people who tried to take his wife.
Right.
It's just not presented like God's upset that Abraham lied.
No. No, it definitely isn't. I feel like
there's a few other circumstances like that.
Yeah.
When Moses was born as a baby, at the time, Pharaoh had issued a decree that all the male infants born to the Hebrew slaves should be killed, drowned in the Nile River or whatever. And so when they came in, the Egyptian midwives lied to Pharaoh and said, "Oh, these women, they get there. We don't get there in time. They have the babies too fast, and this, that, and the other." And so they hid them, and then God blessed them after that.
Right.
Rahab the harlot did the same thing. In fact, she made it into the line of Christ.
Okay.
It says right in Matthew, in the line of Christ, Rahab the harlot is one of his ancestors. And she was in Jericho when Joshua and the Egyptians are finally going in and they're taking the promised land of Canaan.
Okay.
And they march around Jericho 7 times and the walls come tumbling down. There's a Sunday school song about that. And before that, they sent a couple spies in to scout out Jericho. Rahab was Rahab the harlot. They went to her house. The soldiers from the king came looking for these spies, and she lied to them and said they'd gotten away a different way. And again, God only blesses her for that.
Okay.
So I don't think, and see, Will and I were talking about how we grew up in faith traditions that everything was it was so important to have everything boxed up that you couldn't lie and have it be okay. And so they'd work their way into all kinds of circles to get to why, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. I mean,
I don't.
it's clear from these examples that I'm not trying to say I understand God's mind, but it's clear from these examples that these lies were used to protect special people, holy people for whom God had a purpose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I felt before you gave the other examples. Sarah and Abram were obviously special to God.
Yeah.
They have
He's
a
gonna.
purpose. He's going to protect them.
The Messiah
And
is going to come through Abraham. He's going to be a blessing
mhm,
to all. That's when I'm going to make you a blessing. You're going to be
mhm.
famous. All the families of the earth are going to be blessed through you. He's talking about Jesus because Jesus comes through the line of Abraham, and that's how he's
Mhm.
going to. That's the entire thing.
The thing I was trying to figure out is how does the Pharaoh come to realize that this, these, is it, the plague, that the plague is a result of this? I'm trying to figure out.
You know,
It's
in the in the
skimmed over and
next
I'm really
in the next
curious.
story where it happens with
Hmm.
Abraham, God appears to whoever the king is in a dream,
Hmm. Okay.
and he says, "Don't touch that
Okay.
man's wife, or I'll kill you." That makes me think that he did that. They didn't. He didn't get far
Okay.
enough to get the goods on Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Good.
don't. In other words, however long she's probably put in the harem, probably getting, but he was going to take her.
Right.
Like that was the
As a
whole point.
wife.
I just don't
Yeah.
believe he did based on the next story. So
Okay.
you guys can think what you want once we get there.
All
But
right.
um
Thank you,
be,
Todd. I like that version. Yeah.
because I don't think that he did, but I mean it could be that God appeared to him, but at some point this happened. It's comparable a little bit to what happened with Saul. Saul, the first king of Israel, went to battle with the Philistines, had and they were losing. The Israelites were
Hmm.
losing the battle, and he had the Ark of the Covenant, you know, Raiders of the
Okay.
Lost Ark, the famous Ark of the Covenant
Right.
that they carried around from Moses and everything, had the pieces of the Ten Commandments and stuff in it, of the tablets, whatever. They
Right.
had that brought out to battle, thinking that this will help us. The Philistines end up completely destroying the Israelites in battle, and they take the Ark of the Covenant, and they
Hmm.
take it back to whatever the towns were that they're in Philistia, the Philistines' lands,
Hmm.
and they put the Ark of the Covenant next to their god Dagon in the temple there,
Right.
and all of the people in the king's household start getting ulcers and sick and tumors and all kinds of things,
Hmm.
and they end up sending the ark back on a. They have their people come in and they're like, "How do we get rid of this thing?"
Wow.
So somehow there's the same. It's like there's certain things like you're saying. I think Sarah was one. She was going to have the seed. Her only son. Well, her only son was going to be Isaac,
Hmm.
and he was going to be the promise. The Messiah was going to come through that. And God, it doesn't matter what happened. God wasn't going to let that part be messed with. Period.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And God's anger seems to be a lot more for the people that live in a culture where they'll just take what they want and kill the guy who's married to her than the guy who, for self preservation, and is
Right.
they have to come up with a different story.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Completely.
I kind of compared it. What Will and I came up with is it's kind of like the difference between "thou shalt not murder"
Hmm.
and killing in war, killing and for other reasons, state
Oh,
sponsored,
gotcha.
whatever. And I
Right.
think that's true with the lying thing. In other
Hmm.
words, if you're lying, if you're bearing false witness, if you're lying for personal gain or to save
Hmm.
your own skin or do this or that or the other, then yeah, I think that's sin. God talks about it as such. But if you're in Nazi Germany and you're
Hmm.
lying to save the Jews in your attic, I don't think it's the same thing.
I
You know what
agree
I
with
mean?
that. Yep.
And
Sure.
I've heard messages from people who would say, if they'd have just had enough faith, they could have told those soldiers, "There's Jews right there," and they'd have walked right away. And I just think, this is crazy talk. I don't know
Yeah.
what world you live in, but this is just not like
Right.
normal life. So
Well, and here's the thing. Even if it's if in the eyes of God all lying is wrong, if I were in that position lying about the hidden Jews in my attic, I'm perfectly willing on judgment day to stand in front of God and say, "Yeah, I
yeah,
lied
I
about
don't.
that."
I mean,
You know
I've
what I'm
given
saying?
multiple examples that I don't think
Mhm.
the Bible never presents that kind of deception as wrong ever.
Okay.
It just
Interesting.
doesn't. I mean, that I can find anywhere. It's just
Yeah.
not. That was kind of what I was bouncing off Grok. Am I missing anything?
Right. I mean, it's a slippery slope, everyone. Like, be careful. You can come up with we can come up with all kinds of justifications for lying, but
I think most of the time you would not want to.
right.
Because most of the time it's the lying that changes you. Like
Yes.
one of Jordan Peterson's big things is don't lie, always tell the truth or whatever. And yeah, I think that makes sense. But I think
Mhm.
I think he would say the same exact thing. If you're in Nazi Germany and you've got
Mhm.
Jews in the cellar, you
Mhm.
don't give them the key.
Right.
Like that's just not like
Yeah.
you're in war. It's different. A
Sure.
war of sorts. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So anyway,
That's
that's
fair.
how I see it. I
Mhm.
don't. God never once. It's never treated as bad what Abraham did. I think that he
Interesting.
was. In fact, I think you could make people say it was a lack of faith on Abraham's part. I think you could make the case because from Abraham's perspective, if he didn't have faith that God was going to protect Sarah, then he was putting Sarah in a precarious position.
Mhm.
But I actually think that Abraham had so much faith in God. God had appeared to him. God had called him. He
Mhm.
knew God's going to take care of us. We'll do the best that we can
Right. I was gonna say
on
he was
our
just
end.
doing his part and contring what he
Yeah.
could,
God
not
helps those who help
not
themselves.
yes,
It
I
doesn't say
agree.
anywhere in the Bible, but I think there's some truth to it.
Doesn't it? Does it not
No,
say that anywhere?
that's not a biblical thing.
Sorry.
I'm trying to
It's like
remember
something we say in our house all the
some
time.
black girl slavery time or something came up with the phrase.
Oh,
Someone
okay.
halfway famous, but I can't remember
Okay.
right this second. I
Okay.
think she was black. I think it was like a former slave or something. But I can't remember.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I could be wrong. Who knows?
So, all right. So
But
you answered my question. You believe that perhaps God appeared in a dream,
yeah,
told Pharaoh, "Hey,
that
this
is what I
is
think.
yeah," revealed who Sarah was and said, "You can't do this."
Well, and because Abraham was right too. He said, if
Mhm.
because of you, I'll prosper, and he did.
Yeah.
Like I just seems
Right.
to me like all the signs were Abraham was doing the best he could,
Mhm.
and that God blessed him doing the best he could. And this
Mhm.
pagan culture that would take anything that was beautiful
Right.
because their lust was so strong, God
Yikes.
didn't seem to look favorably on. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yep.
So anyway, that's that. So that's the one side. The other side, I think, the
Mhm.
front end
Yep.
is that's the biggest part. This is the Abrahamic covenant.
Yep.
It is this that undergirds everything in the Old Testament that's pointing all the way to Jesus. And it's God showing up to Abram and saying, leave your country, your
Mhm.
family, and your father's home for a land that I will show you. So on the very front end, it's the exact same thing Jesus is saying when he says, pick up your cross and follow me, because the leaving's on
Mhm.
the front end. He
Yeah.
does say, oh, bless him, but you got to leave everything you've known. You can't stay comfortable and
Mhm.
follow me. I think you couldn't read the Gospels and come up with anything else. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I was gonna say this is a very extreme version of, some of the things that we've talked about facing or that some people in the gospel, the disciples had to do this also. They had to give up everything.
Absolutely.
But we see smaller examples of it, you know, frequently in our own lives.
Yeah, certainly we face it on a smaller scale
Mhm.
where for
But this
whatever
is
reason.
extreme. This is
Mhm.
this is like tall order time, and I don't know, it just seems like they're like, "All right, let's go." I wanna know if there's more to that. Did
Well,
Abram
I
and
do
Sarah,
think
like, lose sleep over this? Have a conversation? They're like,
it
"Can't believe we
appears
have
to
to do
me
this?"
that they left before in other words, this call I think came to Abraham while he was
Mhm,
still in Ur of the Chaldees. Seems to
mhm,
me that he got his father Terah on board part way. So
okay,
in other words, Abraham says, I've got to leave. I've been called by this God. And mind you, they're in a culture of idols and foreign gods and whatever.
okay,
But Abraham believes that he has that he's in contact with the living God. This is where God is going to come down and he's going to like intervene. You know
okay,
what I mean?
mhm,
This is where okay, this is the plan. This is how I'm going to fix this,
okay,
or not fix this, but I'm going to reunite with all of you. Right?
right,
I'm going to redeem my creation.
mhm,
So he says, leave your country, your family, your father's home for a land that I will show you. Doesn't even know where he's going.
right,
God doesn't I'm going to say almost never tells you the destination on the front end. It
No.
just calls you to go, and the answer is to go.
Mm-hmm.
The obedience is found not in attaining the goal, but just moving towards it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then he gives him the promise. The promise is that I'm going to make you a great nation and I'm going to bless you. I'll make you famous. You'll be a blessing. I'll bless those who bless you. Those who curse you, I'll curse. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you. And he's telling this to a guy whose wife is barren and has been barren and is now about 70 years old,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And Abraham, and this entire promise revolves around, man, I'm going to make something big out of you.
Right.
And for 25 years, it's going to be before Abraham sees the fruition of that. And he's going to stumble along the way. And we're going to see as we follow this story. This is the first kind of real detailed story we've got in Genesis. We're going to go for the rest of Genesis. And this was really the part of Genesis I was most looking forward to. As much fun as we've had in the early chapters. I love the stories of the patriarchs. You go from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob to Joseph, and you get these big kind of detailed stories woven in, and they're really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
But God, to call him and to make the entire basis of the blessing that he's going to be his offspring, and he doesn't even have any. And he doesn't even have any prospects.
Does he?
And we're going to see through this that Abraham gets frustrated along the way over these 25 years and is like, what difference does it make how many sheep you give me? I don't have a son. This becomes a big thing for Abraham to push through in faith. It's just I can't wait for the story.
I just realize here that this translation, he says all the families of the earth, but it's worded differently originally, isn't it?
Some might say nations of the earth.
Okay, but that still doesn't imply that it's his blood.
What's that, Carrie? You just disappeared.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, you're back. You just glitched for a second.
Okay. That still doesn't indicate that it's coming from his blood, like his descendants.
Oh, you're saying you don't think the other translations do? You
I
feel like
just
this
feel-
translation is doing it more than the message is doing it more than you remember it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna see here.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, he said he
I can pull up
promises him.
well, that's
So
the New
I've got it
Living.
here in front of me. What verse is this? So this is like the beginning of 12.
Yep.
Yeah, bless you.
It's pretty
Okay,
much the
same thing. It's like
Yeah.
speaking of families and nations in general.
Oh, you message doubters.
Well, no
kidding.
offense. I
I
just
know.
thought, okay, so when you say that he could hesitate and say, but I don't even have a son, you're just saying that it's just kind of it's a logical step, being like, I don't even have my own kids.
Well, when he
what
says, I'll
families
make
are you
you a
talking
great
about?
nation, I'll make you famous, you'll be a blessing. In Abraham's culture and in Abraham's mind, that only means one thing, and it's progeny.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We have in our culture far more of a lifetime approach to things. We'll look at things and think, "Oh wow, they built this great company in their lifetime and they had this amazing impact." But earlier cultures were not as much that way. It was what was built by the entire kind of the people, and that's the patriarchs, and you have all these kids and these families, and that's how you build a great nation. Uh-oh, Carrie stopped. We might have to it says your recording stopped, Carrie. Now you're gone. We're going to have to come back. I've got no microphone at all on you, Carrie. Let's stop and come back. I don't know if you can hear me. She's gone. Okay, Carrie's back. A little bit of tech difficulties.
Just keeping it interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that yeah, it was real important from the standpoint of it. Abraham was looking at this as down through the centuries. You know what I mean? Building a man. That's how they thought of things back then, I think.
That having children, having offspring, like you said, progeny, that is how they build a legacy.
Well, Abraham's going to say later on, I don't know how
Mhm,
much later on, but later on in this story, he's going to tell God, listen, what good you're blessing me.
mhm,
Everywhere I go, I accumulate servants and I accumulate
mhm.
livestock and I just have all this wealth and I don't have a son. What good is all this if I pass it on to my servant?
Got it.
So, I mean, you get a window into what makes Abraham tick. And I think it was cultural too. It just kind of made people,
Sure.
they thought more in terms that way.
Right.
You know, that there just wasn't it wasn't as obvious that they didn't think in terms of having a successful life that didn't involve kids. I really don't
Right.
think they did, like
Right. It wasn't like a conversation. It was a
no.
given.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, it's interesting that God makes this problem, but God picks Abraham and
Mhm,
says, "Listen, do this. Take this step of faith. I know it's a big ask on the front end,
mhm.
but man, if you understood what I got planned for you," and Abraham believes him. That's the great thing.
Right.
How many times should God come to people and they just don't believe it?
I don't know,
You know,
we
he
see
tells us
lots of examples of people in the Bible believing him, and it
yeah.
astounds me every time, especially these big asks. Build an ark, pick up your family and move far away, and, you know
Yeah, but Abraham was on board.
Yep.
And you know what I think? I think God appeared to Abraham. We're gonna see that multiple times going forward. And so
Mhm.
when it says God told Abraham, I mean, he probably appeared to him and told him. And, yeah, Abraham he just went full on in faith. Like, his faith
Yeah.
in God was so he got a vision of God. That's, I think, what I'm after. When we see God
Mhm.
Job, the whole book talks about, Job has all these horrible things happen, and then he has all these conversations about none of this is fair with his friends, and I'm a good guy, and this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
Anyway, great book all the way through. But right at the end, God finally shows up, and then in the second to the last chapter, Job says, I'd been living on hearing about you before, but now I've seen you through this suffering, through this challenge. I've seen you.
Mm.
And I think that's what happened with Abram right on the front end is he gets such a clear vision of God and such a clear
Mhm.
call.
Right.
I don't think it ever occurs to him like that's his that he's seen reality. He's seen the ultimate reality and like this isn't it. That's what they're talking about in Hebrews when he said they've been called to a better country. You know
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean?
Mhm.
That thing we read at the beginning, he says, each one of these people of faith died not yet having in hand what was
Oh.
promised. Talking about
Mhm.
Jesus, the Messiah, the
Mhm.
redemption of all of humanity and all of creation. They saw it, but they didn't get it. But still believing. How did they do it? They saw it way off in the distance, waved their greeting, and accepted the fact that they were transients in this world. People who live this way make it plain they are looking for their true home.
Mhm.
You can see why God's so proud of them and has a city waiting for them. That's the city that it's talking about. That's the city he called Abraham to. That's the same city that he calls all of us to. So,
Yeah, I feel that that's the way people like Mother Teresa are, you know?
yeah,
That's the type of person she was. She knew she had a mission while she was here, but you could tell the way she lived, it wasn't about being in this world. I mean, it
no,
was certainly about using her gifts and blessing others while she was here, but it wasn't about her. It
no.
wasn't about acquisition or success. It was transient. It was a very transient sort of
She accepted
approach
it.
to life.
She
Mhm,
understood it.
mhm.
And
She's just
yeah, I
one
think
example of many, but
maybe we could say that if you want to make a big impact for
Mhm,
God on the kingdom,
mhm.
the answer is get a really big vision of God. You know what I mean?
Right.
The bigger your picture of God, the more apt you are to step into that and really impact some things and really
Mhm.
make and look at Mother Teresa. She didn't impact things with wealth or with anything else, but
Right.
just it was all spiritual treasures.
Yeah.
That's where her focus was. Her focus was on these orphans or these whatever. You know what I mean? Where was
Right.
she? Was she in Calcutta or something? I can't remember.
She was Teresa of Calcutta. I'm not sure if that's where
Calcutta's
she
India, right?
Mhm.
My geography's a little off. Sorry, guys. I think.
I know. I was like, I can't believe you just asked that on the air. Todd, when you hear something like this, you hear this concept. Someone like Mother Teresa, someone like Abraham and Sarah. Does it like having this big vision of God and accepting that they're transient? I mean,
Yeah.
we are too, technically. It's just not how we live in
No, we definitely are.
2026. We definitely are. But we don't look at life that way in 2026, generally.
No.
Maybe you do. You seem a little more like comfortable with that concept.
Not by choice, but I've been forced into it a little.
Right? Yes, sometimes life forces you into that a little bit. But when you think that way and in those terms, does it make you look around yourself and just want to get rid of stuff? Like, why do I have all this stuff? Well, I have all these lamps.
I want to travel light. There is something to that. Something to traveling light.
There is, and I just it's one of those things that bothers me sometimes.
Hauling your lamps with you.
God's like, it's bright enough here. You can leave the lamps.
I was listening to something, and I have to tell you that what I'm about to tell you, I didn't actually hear. I've been trying to find it.
Okay.
It's one of those things where a post pops up on X. I really want to watch it and look at it.
Okay.
Something happens. I go away. I come back to my phone. I pull it up. I see it for a split second, and it disappears.
Oh no!
And it goes back and it refreshes.
What is it? Okay.
So anyway, Greg Laurie, who's a pastor of Harvest Church, he's in the Jesus Revolution. He was the younger guy in it.
Oh, okay.
Who gets Pastor Chuck hands him the keys at the end of the show.
Okay,
to
got
a church
it.
and whatever. Anyway, that's Greg Laurie. He's interviewing a guy named Chuck Swindoll, who's a famous radio pastor from forever, like started in the 70s. Had Insight for Living was the name of his show. He's 91 now, so he's so old. But this is such a good conversation. But anyway, it's on, I think, the Greg Laurie show or something. And so I've got halfway through the show listening for this quote that I read that was supposed to be there, but I haven't actually heard it yet. But I think it must be in there.
Find it. Okay.
And what Chuck Swindoll said is Corrie ten Boom, who was from The Hiding Place. She was the one who lived through the Holocaust and wrote the book called The Hiding Place.
Okay.
And she had met Chuck Swindoll somewhere at some point. And it was something along the lines of she had met his kids or whatever. And anyway, she was talking to him, and she like grabbed his hands and kind of twisted them so they'd be kind of open.
Okay.
Like this.
Yeah.
And she said something to him along the lines of, hold everything God gives you like this, and it won't hurt so much when he empties it, when he takes it away, when he opens your hands, or something like that. Like, hold everything open-handed to God, and it won't hurt nearly so much.
Oh, like offering it in kind of like an offering position.
Hold everything he gives you open-handed, and when he takes it, it won't hurt so much. Something along those lines. I don't know exactly.
As opposed to like,
I didn't get to see it.
Oh.
I'm still searching.
Okay, gotcha. I'm going to help you find it.
I swear, I searched it. I couldn't find it anyway.
Okay.
And I thought, I got to listen to the whole podcast. And I haven't yet. So anyway.
But do you think she's contrasting it with like holding on tightly to things?
Yes,
is that
that's
it?
what I think. And when you said starting to get rid of things, it reminded me of that. Made me think of that. I think I always like to have something. I was telling Will this earlier. I like to have something, not necessarily to leave it to try to box up what we talk about. I just like to have something that you can stick with, because we can have kind of a scattershot approach. And which I think is good. I like that. Yeah. It's the story, you know? But that line in here where it says, God appeared to Abraham, said, I'll give this land to you and your children. Then Abraham built an altar at the place God had appeared to him. And he moved on from there to the hill country, and he built an altar there and prayed to God.
Oh, yeah.
And then it says Abram kept moving, steadily making his way south to the Negev. And that was what stuck with me, was that Abraham kept moving. You know, when you go into something that God calls you to, one of the things you don't expect is the famine that's going to hit, because you're in God's will. Why am I going to where you want me to go, and then there's a famine? Right. It was the famine that drove him to, like, we like to expect that it's not going to be as hard as it is. It's always harder. It's always more challenging.
Yeah, if it's God's will, it's going to be a smooth trip, right?
But that's not ever the experience. Like, you're more likely to think, my God, everything's gotten impossible. I must be in the middle of God's will. Do you know what I mean?
Right. But our expectations when we head out on a journey is exactly that.
Okay, well, I'm going to obey, and then everything's going to be easy.
Everything's going to be easy. Yeah.
No, it's way worse. It's so much harder.
Okay, so he kept moving.
He kept moving. I think that's important because sometimes that's all God's calling us to, is to just keep moving in the direction that he's called us.
Yes.
The famine doesn't make sense, but we keep going. It doesn't make sense. We got to go to Egypt. It doesn't make sense that I got to let Sarah go live in the palace, but I keep going and I keep moving because God has called me on this journey, on this adventure of a lifetime. And the one thing I got to do is just keep moving forward. Not get stuck in the past, not get stopped by the obstacles, not get stuck in the detours, just keep going. You know what I mean? And along the way, build altars everywhere you stop. He's leaving the message of God. Like, because everywhere he goes, we're not talking about altars that can be easily knocked down. People know that someone was here worshiping. You know what I mean? He's leaving something behind that says he's a message about reality and a message about God. Everywhere he goes, he's shining that light. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's great. I was thinking about the altars, but it didn't occur to me that they would be left behind for other people to come across.
Massive stone altars. In fact, I think they'll talk about how these altars will come up later, that people come across these altars that Abraham built, or wells that Jacob dug, things like that lasted. You know what I mean? That make their way through the story. And to me, that's if you got to lie about your wife, you got to lie about your wife. You didn't want to. You didn't want there to be a Holocaust and have to have Jews in your attic, but now there's Jews in your attic.
But I'm sorry,
like Tucker Carlson. I got the Jews in my attic. Sorry,
but Todd, you pointed this out though, and actually this highlights two such important things, and that is worship and obedience. The altars and the moving where he tells you to go.
Yeah, and that's how he did it. He kept moving in worship and obedience. 100%
so
right.
Like faith, kind of like faith and obedience, or
So how do you step out in faith? How do you keep moving in faith? You just do it, and then you worship along the way, and you trust God along the way, and you follow God the whole way.
Even if there's a famine, and even if your wife is scooped up by the Pharaoh,
you just keep trusting, and it seems like God honored that. I would say, Abraham left a pretty good legacy.
Right. So, I know this is just tip of the iceberg, everyone.
We're just getting started.
Tune in next week. No, it's great. Thanks, Todd.
All right, I think we did good. Anything else, Carrie? You happy?
I think it was great. I am happy. I wanted to touch on the two altars, and you wrapped it up with it. So.
There we go. Perfect.
All right, I knew you were going to say something about moving too. I knew it.
See, Carrie knows. She's been out of it.
Good,
Carrie doesn't miss a single show. Get you under. Unlike some of you. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. ToddsWorld.net is where the books are at. Witness, Leaves the Blue Away, Insurrection's great. Just anyway, some great books, great stories. Log on there. Send clips of us to people. Comment on the show. We'd love to hear comments from you. Obviously, we'll talk about it on the front end and usually answer you if we get around. If we see it, sometimes things slip
now that we're into the real historical part of the Bible, maybe we'll get some. We'll get some comments.
Okay, we can talk about this one. It actually happened. Okay.
I'm just poking fun. I love it. Actually, we appreciate the listening and the sharing. Thank you.
All right, guys. Come back next week. Send clips to your friends. Recommend us to your friends, because that's the only way we're going to grow is if you tell people, listen, this show is like different, but there's something engaging and wildly entertaining about it. And somehow God works through it.
I know, he really does.
We're as surprised as you. I know.
Sometimes, yes.
My God, there's Jews in the attic.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks. See you next week.
Bye.